superheroes. People with ridiculous costumes and really cool superpowers. An idea that made its fruition around the 1940s and made cultural relevance around the early 2000s. But it seems in the past year or so, these projects have begun to quickly deteriorate in quality. As you can hear, many fans nowadays complaining about how much content is being pumped out and how trying to keep up with everything hasn't necessarily been worth it. Worst of it all, it seems that the main culprit of this problem has been the one that was helping keep these superheroes in the spotlight within the first place. Yep, Marvel Studios, after years of careful planning and massive success with audiences, seems to be its own downfall. But for such a huge genre, what's caused superheroes to start falling from grace? To see how the audience feels, I and my friends Anna and Brandon interviewed some folks for their feelings on the MCU.
Back when superhero movies were a lot less prevalent, when there was a lot less of them, I think we looked more specifically just for specific comic book storylines to get adapted in very specific ways. And at a certain point, I think, as it's progressed and spread so much, you very much see where it's like, okay, they're taking very specific elements of specific stories, but they're telling their own thing.
I appreciate that they're trying to go from, the classic comic idea of all of these heroes sharing this similar universe and how they cross over and how their similar ideas and events and backstories cross over. I feel like sometimes it can lead into some problems with and this happens in comics as well, is how one writer even interprets a character doing a very specific thing is going to be processed to completely different to another writer. It just comes down to how problems can come up with trying to lace things together so tightly that you don't really leave enough room for, artistic choices from the directors, the producers, the actors, things like that.
Marvel's hectic release schedule has also massively overworked everyone on these projects. Various VFX workers have spoken out against the intense time crunches they've been put up against. Writers have been forced to work around constant cameos and underdeveloped universe building rather than actual storytelling. Actors have progressively taken less interest in working with Marvel, straying away from long-term contracts to work on other films. And to top it off, various directors have stepped away from their commitments, such as John Watts leaving the Fantastic Four after No Way Home, and Bassam Tariq being fired for showing little competency for Blade.
I feel like this is a really bizarre and unique age of, nostalgia essentialism. There's this idea of keep bringing back this old nostalgic property, keep put in the trailer this old actor returning, and they're grizzled and they have a cool voice and they're like, oh, I'm back. So I feel like that's a big point that's going on with not only Marvel movies, but just how much IP movies are being pumped out.
What about the DCEU? What exactly have they done to differentiate from Marvel's production style? DC's attempts to mirror the MCU have been underwhelming, to say the least. And while whatever cinematic plan they have in store for the next few years gets fixed up, it seems like they stepped away from any massive universe building so far.
That's why I appreciate a lot more of what the DC's doing, having their own ideas. So I feel like I'm getting something different than just the same plot line, the same jokes, the same character story arc, but with different colors and different heroes.
Maybe DC, Marvel, and Amazon Prime know exactly what they're doing, and that the next few projects are going to be swinging left and right at the award season. Regardless, only time and the talent working behind the screen will tell. Until then, just rest assured, I will be dumb enough to keep watching these movies in IMAX. This is Chris Amaya, signing off.